Hey, beautiful people, this is me, the Infinity Midwife, coming to you once again. I'm doing another video, a message, okay? It's gonna be in two parts. First part, we're talking about success. What success looks like for you on an individual level. I feel like before, for me, success was, how, we portray it in movies, we portray it in beautiful Hollywood movies of how, success and love can be, or, you have to have the big house, the car, you have to have nice picket fence, you have to have all these external successes, meaning, money in the bank, buying yourselves all the beautiful brand luxurious things that you want to. But in time, I would say maybe in the last 2 years or even last year, I would say that my definition of success started changing. If I can wake up in the morning and feel peaceful in my heart, feel peaceful in my mind, feel peaceful in my body, I know that I have achieved that success for the day. I've recognized that small successes is much more important than big successes for me. I also recognized that big successes, right? Like for me, a big success is knowing that, let's say I'm feeling low. Like I will get to the root cause of why I'm feeling low, and I will switch it around. Like I will say, is that a reflection of, of my worth? Am I feeling, whatever I'm feeling? Am I really I'm going to question it. Where is it coming from? Is it really me? Is it something I've done? Is it whatever it is? Is it a thought pattern? And so to me, transmuting that is very much so healthy, and is very much so a success in my day. Knowing that I can communicate effectively my needs, what I want, what I don't want, how I want to collaborate, how I don't want to collaborate, how I want to do certain things, how I don't want to do certain things. That is also part of my success, okay? Also, one of the things I've recognized is not allowing my external reality to impede on my internal feelings. Like, yes, everything in life is, things happen, situations happen, people will confront you, you will be confronted with things, and you're gonna have to deal with them. Right? And the thing is, when you are coming from a place of, you're recognizing your worth, you're recognizing that you want to, this internal well-being, or, that feeling of well-being internally is important, and you really want to mark it as a priority, you will make sure that you will not be reactive to everything that is being thrown at you. Right? Whether it's a check that bounced, whether it's and for me, it was really important to have, things, financial things work out. And if they didn't work out, then, my internal mood would change. But then I've started learning how my internal disposition should not be predicated upon what's happening externally around me. So if, my children are throwing tantrums, if something is not going well in my environment, instead of just being, throwing tantrums and being reactive, I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to question it. First of all, I'm going to question it out loud and be like, where's that coming from? Right? Where is that coming from? Is it bothering me? Why is it bothering me? What is it about it that's bothering me? What is triggering me? Is it really valid? Is it really valid for me to respond that way or react that way? Right? So it's always about doing mini introspections in order to make sure that my internal, I always go back to being, or to that feeling of feeling good. Right? That's a big success for me in my daily, right? Another success for me is, can I be and stay pleasurable in all things that I do, in all things that I say, in all things that I think? Because pleasure, again, I feel like it's a birthright. And I feel like being a Black woman, it's something that has been taken away whether it's through labeling, whether it's through religion, whether it's through culture. You know, we look at women, and more so black women, as black bodies that are just sexual objects, you know, ready to be turned on by whoever comes their way. And I feel like, especially like if you are beautiful, I mean, all women are beautiful, but if you are, you know, above, you know, or if you are part of what society, you know, thinks is beautiful, then you will be met with people, or you will just be met in general with people who will have perceptions of you, are going to label you a certain way. And especially black women's bodies, like, we are constantly being labeled any types of way, whether we are responsive, whether we're non-responsive, whether we're verbally or non-verbally, you know, communicating. We are always being labeled, right? Whether it's sexually, whether it's, you know, she's emotionally this, she's mad, she's a mad woman, she's crazy, blah, blah, blah. Oh, she has the strong archetype, you know, she's a ghetto, she's this. Like, we're constantly being labeled, no matter how we are moving, right? So I've come to realize that, and in doing that, I've started really, like, giving more power to my internal voice, because my internal voice says I'm a beautiful woman and nothing in this world should stop me from being pleasurable. My trauma did hinder that for a very, very long time, maybe most of my life. My trauma kept me from recognizing what is pleasurable to me. But now that I fully, like, reconciled with that part of myself, I can confidently say, I want to be in this constant pleasurable space all day. And that's a big success for me. If I cannot feel pleasurable in all things that I do, even if it's sometimes a task that I don't like doing, I will transmute that and bring pleasure into it. Why? Because it's a birthright of mine. I feel like it's right for me to feel pleasurable in all things that I do. And I'm not going to tell you how I feel pleasurable in all these things, but it is a birthright for me. And so I always go back to that. Even if I get out of that mindset, I always get back to that, because again, I've recognized my sense of self-worth. I recognize what I'm worthy of, whether people like it or not. Like, people are always going to talk. People are always going to label you. People are always going to say something about you. People are always going to talk and, you know, perceive you a certain way. But if you can move away from that and start recognizing what are you worthy of? Are you worthy of waking up every morning feeling good about yourself? Are you worthy of, you know, being happy, having a smile on your face every day, like every moment of the day? Are you worthy of, even when you're feeling down, you can find time to say, I'm going to feel whatever I feel, or I'm going to transmute that into something beautiful? Because. Are you worthy of, you know, making sure that no matter how messed up the world is, at the end of the day, you are grateful for whatever you got? Are you worthy? Merci, chérie. Merci, mon amour. Vas-y. Ok, vas-y.
Qui, lui, il est en train de... Tu sais où est-ce qu'il est?
Je sais, il est là-bas.
Non, il est pas là-bas, il est là-bas.
Oui, je sais.
Yes. Est-ce que je peux y aller?
Oui. So you see, my son just brought me a flower, and then I thanked him. Cam, ferme la porte. Ferme la porte. Right? And so there are so many things that, you know, we've devalued over time because society tells us a different story. One of the big things that, you know, for me is like it's a big hindering, it's a big ops. It's a big ops. Is religion. Like, a lot of religions at their core is African knowledge. African knowledge meaning it's universal knowledge. Is universal knowledge, and it has been diluted for the purposes and interests of men. And when I say that, I'm mostly saying that because with time we hear a lot of the narratives of religion is, you know, you do not live in this life for you. You live in this life for a god, a foreign god, right? Or you live in this life for a foreign god that maybe have nothing to do with your sole purpose, but you're gonna live your life in a certain way, and fuck out of here all of your soul purpose. Fuck out of here your ancestral DNA. Fuck out of here your own DNA godly blueprint. Put that to the garbage. Put yourself in bondage for that God, okay? And live your life according to that word or that narrative. And most of the time what ends up happening, you know, we hear those narratives, you know, in this life, like this life is nothing. You should just die, or not care for yourself, or not love yourself, but love everything of that God, or love everything of that culture, or love everything that has nothing to do with your generational wealth. And people die like that. People die in this bondage, and they pass it on. I call it literally a curse. Like they pass that on over to their children, and their children pass that on over to their children. And it's a vicious cycle of never really breaking the curse of living in alignment with your godly blueprint, right? And then there are some religions that will tell you that, you know, your God is a certain color, or, you know, your God is the masculine principality, and in their teachings and in their narrative, they will completely erase every prince of the feminine principle in their texts, in their prayers, or just in their narratives, right? They will absolutely demonize the feminine principle, but yet again turn around and use it in their secret spaces, right? And so we find that a lot of narratives, a lot of things that were predicated in this society, whether we're living in the Western world, or in the Arab world, or in the Asiatic or Asian world, like there are some things there, whether it's through culture, whether it's through religion, whether it's through entertainment industries. They will have labels as to how people should function. People should look at life. People should look at faith. People should look at God. People should even look at their relationship with God a certain way, and go through that life that way. But now we are being asked to revisit those things, revisit those beliefs, revisit those truth, those illusions, and start defining, you know, all these things for yourself. What does faith looks like for you? What does success looks like for you? What does freedom looks like for you? And I want to say this because it's been heavy on my heart. But I'm talking to my African people, my Black people, people living on the continent or everywhere around the world. We've been carrying heavy burdens of unworthiness for the longest time. And that load or that burden of unworthiness, we've been carrying it on all the continents because of the color of our skin, because of our God DNA. Okay, and you know, like whether it's through the story of the transatlantic slave for 400 years in the Americas, whether it's through the story of the slavery trade with the Muslims or the Arabs, right? Whether it's through the stories of religions, whether it's through the stories of the castes or the casting systems in India, whether it's through the elitists, the classes that has been the economical classes that we find in certain places in Asia, or making sure that there are less of girls and more of boys during a period of like 10 or a decade or even more so. Like we see how our lives have been stolen and taken away from us for a long time. But I'm talking to my Black people now. Like, we need to come to terms with those things. Like, to me, knowing that there are still ongoing practices of mutilating little girls in this day and age, in some places, some villages in Africa, to me is proof that we are not doing the work. That the message of changing the traditions, changing the cultures, rebuking those things are still ongoing. For me to hear that parents are willing to send their children into some far-end mosques where imams will take those children, and sell them to the streets, having them prostitute, having them ask for money in the streets. Like, this is still signs that we are not operating, like we are not evolving as Black people. For me, in the Americas, if you're still reinforcing the story of the 400 years of slave trade, you are still instilling fear into people, and you are still misguiding them towards their own individual realization. Now, I'm not here to say that slavery never existed, or I'm not here to say that, it never happened. What I'm here to say is the narrative that was never our narrative. So whoever controls the narratives control that story. Whoever held the narrative of the transatlantic slave trade that happened for 400 years, whoever controls that narrative needs to be questionable. It needs to be questioned. Why? Because it's not us. It's not our story. It's a story, yes, we're the main characters, but we're the victims in the story. We're not the victors. And whoever controls the story, or whoever controls the narrative, is telling the story. It's mostly to put them up on a pedestal. It has nothing to do with our truth. So why hold on to a story that is not even representative of our own truth, right? All this to say, we are, like, Black people on every continent is holding on to a piece of story that no longer resonates with their evolution, with their individual evolution. To me, it's crazy how Africans, especially on the continent, they're willing and ready to ship, or to risk their lives going into different countries where they're not even welcome. They're treated as slaves, and they are ready to take up other people's language and culture that they uphold so much as the truth, when in reality they have gold, their soil is rich as fuck. But we are willing to not put in the effort. We're willing to risk our lives because we don't want to deal with our own stuff. We don't want to deal with, changing the mentalities of the people on our land. We don't want to do that. We rather risk our lives to get somewhere and then say we made it, and then slave ourselves into some industry, or in some workforce, or in some workplace where we're being forced like slaves, and then we go back home with a little bit of money to start flossing and saying we made it. Like, what is the real definition of success are we upholding today, right? for the African living in the foreign land. Like, if you're slaving yourself from 9 to 5 or from 10 to 10 in those warehouses where you're getting paid like shit, and then you're counting your pennies because you have to go back next year and then be flossing over there with the big car and the big show and the big shoe and the big purses and say you made it, only to come back and slave yourself. What is your definition of success? I'm asking you. Right? So all these things to say, man, we are here to start rethinking our ways, right? And I'm here to say, man, if you are living your life and you see suffering everywhere, you see suffering in your own family, you yourself even is suffering, you need to start questioning that. You need to start questioning that. You need to start questioning it. Why suffer so much? Who told you that suffering was your birthright? That is a level of unworthiness that needs to be cut at the core. You are not unworthy because of the color of your skin. It's the opposite. We need to start thinking as a people that we are worthy. We are worthy of peace. We are worthy of love. We are worthy of respect. We are worthy of being being the governors of our own lands.
Maman, t'es obligée de m'acheter une Camaro.
We are worthy. We are worthy of feeling good in our bodies. We are worthy of reflecting beauty however we want to reflect beauty. We are worthy as women, black women, to feel good about ourselves and not being apprehended or harassed in the streets because we are beauty, right? We should start redefining what success looks like as black people. And if we can start doing it on an individual level, then yes, as a people, we can start as a people, as a whole people, getting back to what is valuable to us. It is not normal that we are valuing suffering over pleasure. And even in that pleasure, when I'm talking about pleasure here, I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about pleasure that you're not in control of or pleasure that is being predicated upon you. Like, I'm talking to my woman out here. Like, if you are under some sort of form of control that is not in alignment with your individual freedom, like you think that you have entryway to paradise because you have to cater to every needs of your husband, that is suffering. I'm sorry, that is not pleasure. That is suffering because you're not doing it genuinely. You're doing it in hope that you will enter paradise. So you are catering that man however he treats you back. So there might not be reciprocity in the process, but you have to do it because you are fearful. You are doing it from a place of fear. And whenever we're doing things from a place of fear, we are reinforcing that belief that we are not worthy of doing things from a place of love. And doing things from a place of love doesn't always look like I will love you and I will appreciate you. No. It can also look like I will love me and I will leave you because I love me more. Or I will not accept that treatment. I will not accept that family member in my space. I will not accept that religion that is asking me to take up a language that has nothing to do with me personally. I will not take up a religion that has people slaving my people, right? I will not take up a religion that is forcing slavery upon my people. I'm sorry. If the word black in some language means slave, or is derogatory, I'm sorry, but I'm not following your religion, point blank. Like, if you choose to do that, that's on you, but my freedom goes to that extent, right? So I feel like we need to come to terms with living according to what people say, to what religion tells us, to what concepts and beliefs of what success looks like. We need to stop living from that place and start living from a place that is more in alignment with what we feel we are worthy of at our core. Okay, you guys, I've said enough for today. I hope you're taking care of your minds, your hearts, and your whole being. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.